Let's explore the 5 stages of the INFJ door slam. 1. Accumulated hurt and frustration. The door slam doesn't happen out of the blue. It's the culmination of countless instances where the INFJ has felt let down, disrespected, or emotionally wounded by an individual or situation. They've endured a multitude of disappointments, and their patience has worn thin. The journey to an INFJ door slam begins with a series of accumulated hurt and frustration, like tiny cracks in their emotional armor that, over time, grow into gaping wounds. This initial stage is where the seeds of the door slam are sown, and it's essential to understand how it unfolds. INFJs possess a heightened sensitivity to the emotions and needs of others. This empathetic nature allows them to connect deeply with people, but it also makes them acutely aware of the pain and suffering around them. Friends, family, and even acquaintances often turn to INFJs for support and guidance. The INFJ willingly takes on the emotional burdens of those they care about, accumulating the weight of others' problems. INFJs may find themselves consistently disappointed by those they have invested their time and emotions in. This could be a friend who continually disregards their boundaries, a partner who fails to reciprocate their efforts, or a job that doesn't align with their values. Over time, these disappointments transform into frustration. The INFJ starts to notice patterns of mistreatment, disrespect, or neglect, and this becomes increasingly difficult to ignore. As they continue to give emotionally while receiving little in return, INFJs may experience a depletion of their emotional resources. They feel as though they're constantly pouring into others without anyone refilling their own emotional well. INFJs tend to internalize their pain and frustrations, often blaming themselves for the problems in their relationships. This self-blame compounds their emotional burden and adds to their growing sense of despair. The final straw leading to the door slam is often a deep sense of betrayal. This might be the result of a close friend's repeated lies, a partner's infidelity, or a colleague's betrayal of trust. The INFJ feels that the relationship has gone beyond repair. Throughout the stage, the INFJ may send unspoken signals and hints to the people in their lives, signaling their need for respect, understanding, and better treatment. They hope that these pleas will be understood and reciprocated. As the frustration and hurt accumulate, the INFJ reaches a point where they realize they must protect their own well-being. They recognize that they cannot continue to sacrifice their emotional health for the sake of others. The accumulation of hurt and frustration is a gradual process that often builds over an extended period. The INFJ reaches a breaking point where they can no longer endure the pain and disappointment. It's at this point that they consider the door slam as a means of self-preservation. 2. The breaking point. The breaking point is a pivotal stage in the INFJ door slam, and it's the moment when an INFJ reaches the emotional edge of what they can endure. This stage is marked by intense realizations and emotional upheaval. Let's delve into the nuances of the breaking point. By the time the breaking point is reached, the INFJ has accumulated a significant amount of emotional strain. They've experienced repeated disappointments, boundary violations, and emotional pain that has steadily worn them down. The constant emotional strain leads to a growing sense of despair. The INFJ begins to feel overwhelmed by the weight of their emotions and the toll it's taking on their well-being. The breaking point often features moments of intense realization. The INFJ may suddenly become acutely aware of how toxic a relationship or situation has become, or they might realize that their emotional well-being is at stake. As the realization dawns, it's not uncommon for the INFJ to experience emotional outbursts. This can manifest as anger, frustration, or even tears. The breaking point can be a turbulent emotional storm. The sense of betrayal is often a core element of the breaking point. The INFJ feels betrayed by the very people or circumstances they've invested in and trusted. The breaking point marks a significant shift in the INFJ's priorities. They recognize that their own well-being and emotional health must come first, even if it means sacrificing a relationship or situation. The breaking point is a turning point in the INFJ's thought process. They begin to contemplate the door slam as a necessary means of self-preservation, realizing that maintaining the current status quo is no longer sustainable. As painful as it is, the breaking point also brings a sense of empowerment. The INFJ realizes that they have the power to make a choice that will protect their emotional health and future. 3. The decision to slam. At this stage, the INFJ makes the painful decision to enact the door slam. It's not a choice made lightly, it's a means of self-preservation. The INFJ recognizes that maintaining the current relationship or situation is causing them more harm than good. 4. Emotional detachment. Once the decision is made, the INFJ begins to emotionally detach from the person or situation they've chosen to door slam. They distance themselves both physically and emotionally, creating a protective barrier to shield themselves from further harm. After the decision to implement an INFJ door slam is made, the next stage is emotional detachment. This process is a coping mechanism to protect themselves from further harm and regain emotional stability. Here's a closer look at the stage of emotional detachment in the INFJ door slam. Emotional detachment involves constructing emotional barriers between the INFJ and the person or situation they've chosen to distance themselves from. These barriers are a way to safeguard their own emotions and create a protective shield. INFJs consciously and strategically reduce their emotional investment in the relationship. They begin to withdraw their emotions and emotional support, creating a growing sense of distance. Communication with the individual being door slammed becomes limited and superficial. INFJs respond with minimal words and engage in only essential conversations, focusing on practical matters if necessary. Emotional detachment often goes hand in hand with physical space. INFJs may physically distance themselves from the person or situation by reducing face-to-face interactions or, in some cases, severing contact altogether. As part of their detachment process, INFJs may re-establish boundaries that had been violated or ignored. They set clear limits to prevent further emotional harm and to regain a sense of control. Emotional detachment isn't an emotionless act, it involves a grieving process. INFJs often mourn the loss of the relationship, the connection they once had, and the emotional investment they've made. While detaching, INFJs also engage in self-reflection and healing. They use this time to process their emotions, reevaluate the relationship, and work on self-improvement. INFJs assess the impact of the emotional detachment on their well-being. They weigh the relief from emotional turmoil against the potential loss of the relationship and continue to reflect on whether the door slam was the right choice. During this phase, INFJs often turn to their trusted friends or allies for support. They seek validation and understanding from those who respect their need for self-preservation. Throughout the emotional detachment process, self-care is crucial. INFJs prioritize their well-being, engaging in activities that bring them joy, peace, and emotional stability. 5. The slam. The final stage is the actual door slam itself. The INFJ cuts off communication, severs ties, and removes the source of pain from their life. This can be a drastic and seemingly abrupt action, but it's their way of protecting their emotional well-being. The INFJ door slam is a method of self-preservation, born out of a deep need to protect their emotional health. It's an extreme measure and often considered a last resort. While it may seem harsh, it's important to understand that INFJs employ this defense mechanism when they feel they have no other option for maintaining their own well-being. The door slam represents the INFJ's commitment to self-care, even if it means letting go of relationships or situations that have become toxic or detrimental.